I'm Mike Power, President and CEO of Silver Range Resources, and this is a wrap-up of results from recent work in Nunavut and NWT this summer. First, a quick word from our lawyers. Silver Range is a precious metals prospect generator, and we're focused on working in the Northwest Territories in Nunavut and in Nevada. Our focus is gold, and for us, grade is king. This is a grade tonnage plot of different types of gold deposits typically found in northern Canada. Now in life you need rules, and we have a simple one. It's 5 grams per ton. Consequently, we only explore for mesothermal, epithermal, and our information hosted gold targets, as these have the potential to host mineralization in excess of 5 grams per ton. We believe such deposit classes are economic in good times or in bad, and command a ready market regardless of gold price volatility. We're not interested in looking for deposits that can't grade 5 grams a ton or better, and we don't do so. Here's our project portfolio. We currently have 13 active projects in the Northwest Territories in Nunavut and 7 active projects in Nevada. We like both jurisdictions because they have large precious metal endowment and relatively stable and predictable regulatory regimes. Finally, having a mix of projects both in the north and in the south allows us to stay in the field almost year-round, and we like to explore. In addition, this provides a more continuous flow of news for investors. So let's have a look at the projects we've been exploring in the NWT and Nunavut. Here's our northern project portfolio. Most of the work we've conducted this year has been on the Uptown Gold project in the Yellowknife area. Uptown Gold is in the heart of the Yellowknife Gold Camp and has excellent infrastructure. There's a paved highway through the eastern portion of the property, and there's a high voltage power line from Snare River running right through it. In addition, the property center is approximately 6 kilometers from helicopter bases at the Yellowknife Airport and about the same distance from the float base in Old Town. Uptown Gold is adjacent to the Giant Mine. From 1948 to 1999, Giant produced approximately 7 million ounces at about 15 grams per ton. Giant, together with the smaller Con deposit, occur in the Yellowknife Greenstone Belt, a package of metavolcanic and metasedimentary rocks. Uptown Gold, in contrast, occurs in granitoid rocks to the west, specifically the Archean defeat suite granodiorite. There's a series of north-northeast trending structures that cut both the granodiorite and the greenstones. They're similar in style and deformational sense, and they host mineralization at Giant, at Con, and at Uptown Gold. There's widespread high-grade gold at Uptown. To date, we've found 11 showings. 6 of these have been drilled, but none to a depth of greater than 60 meters. High grading operations have been conducted on 2 of the veins, the Rod and the 22 vein. Work to date has defined 2 clear drill targets. The Rod vein is a laminated quartz vein hosted in a reverse fault. It's exposed on surface for about 100 meters, and there it ranges from about a foot to 10 feet wide. Mineralization is associated with pyrite, hematite, chalcopyrite, and galena, and grades from grab samples at the south end of the vein have run up to 300 grams per ton. Recent drilling results in 2013 were 2 meters at about 26 grams. The vein is hosted in an east-dipping reverse fault, and it rakes to the northeast. It's open on strike, and it's open at depth. The Fox South showing is a little different. This also is a reverse structure, but it's a shear zone. Within it are a series of quartz veins that range from about 1 to 3 feet thick. They occur on echelon, so it's possible to make a larger zone out of it. Grab samples here have returned values up to 30 grams per ton, and best drilling results have been 2 meters at 4.6 grams per ton. Mineralization at Uptown is part of a much larger mineralizing system. Around the individual veins there's intense hematite alteration that extends meters into the wall rock. Further outboard, there's chlorite alteration that envelops multiple vein sets. In aggregate, the veins form arrays that strike to the north-northeast, and they're parallel with the similar structures in the greenstones that host the Giant Con deposits. Collectively, these all form part of a thrust fault array. The source of this array appears to be a deep crustal fault that was recently imaged in lithoprobe seismic reflection surveys that ran right through the project. You can see here there's a west dipping fault that extends to a depth of almost 15 kilometers that daylights on the Uptown Gold project just near the contact between the Archean granodiorites and the greenstones. Now this is a similar structural setting to that found at other major Archean lode gold camps around the world, including Timmins, where the Porcupine-Dester Fault was imaged in a similar lithoprobe survey, at Kalgoorlie, along Cadillac Break, and so forth. So there's excellent architecture here to host a large gold deposit, and Uptown Gold's in the center of it. Recent work at Uptown Gold has consisted of drilling on the Rod vein in 2015. And at the same time, we dewatered the actual production pit. You can see some sampling going on here. In 2016, we conducted airborne radiometric and magnetic field surveys over the whole project, and lithogeochemical grid sampling over the project as well, over all the exposed areas. In addition, we did some prospecting and found two new veins, the southpaw and left field veins. In August, the project was optioned to Rover Metals Corp, and they're actively planning a drill program for 2017, and we're in permitting for that right now. We did work on virtually all the other projects in our portfolio, but for brevity's sake, I'll confine myself to three areas, beginning with the Back River and Contwoyto Lake area. In the Back River Contwoyto Lake area, Silver Range has four prospects between the Lupin Mine to the northwest and Sabina's Back River project comprising George Lake, Lama, Umwelt, and Goose to the northeast. The deposits, the mine, and Silver Range prospects are all underlain by the Beachy Lake group. This is a package of metasedimentary rocks. Within it, at different stratigraphic levels, are sulfide facies iron formation that host the gold. We believe this will be Canada's next great gold-producing province, and we look forward to the eventual development of Sabina's Back River project in the near future. We picked up 4 targets in here. Let's have a quick look at them, starting with gold bugs. Gold bugs covers a large package of iron formation detected in 1980s era airborne geophysical surveys. There are 3 gold showings embedded in this iron formation. Up the west zone, material in place up to 33 grams per ton has been recovered, and material in float or rubble crop up to 36 grams and 11 grams have been recovered at the Fork Lake and east zones. The next step for this property is some ground geophysics and then trenching or shallow drilling. Uist adjoins Sabina's Back River project and contains mineralization similar in style to that found at the 4 deposits on the property. At Uist, gold is associated with sulfide facies iron formation embedded in a larger regional silicate facies iron formation that was first mapped by the GSC with aeromagnetic surveys. Echo Bay came in this area in the 1990s, and they found 2 iron formation hosted gold showings. Wally's showing, up in the northwest here, returned material up to 46 grams per ton, and at Edge showing in the center of the project, material up to 156 grams per ton gold was found. Our crews went in this summer, and they discovered the Billy Zone up in the northwest. This returned nice arsenopyrite from bedrock occurrences, grading up to 8 grams per ton gold. And in the center of the project, they found the Holiday Zone, which had sheared arsenopyrite, grading up to 64 grams per ton gold. What appears to have happened here is that we have a NAD shift. Having relocated where the iron formation is, the next stage for this project is ground geophysics followed by shallow drilling or trenching. Bling is to the southwest of Uist, and it's a little different from both Uist and gold bugs. Bling consists of an exhalite horizon hosted in mafic volcanics. It's been traced for about 700 meters with geophysical surveys and is exposed over about 125 meters in bedrock. The exhalite horizon is up to 5 meters thick and contains massive vesicular arsenopyrite. Grab samples here have returned up to 47 grams per ton, and best trenching results here were 2 meters at 16 grams per ton. The next step for this project is drilling. Esker Lake is the most advanced property we have in our Back River portfolio. At Esker Lake, a 3.5 kilometer long package of iron formation contains numerous gold occurrences, the most significant of which are the Brandon Hill and Sheet Lake showings. At Brandon Hill, formerly Ptarmigan Hill, gold is found in folded iron formation and in quartz veins in the axioplanar regions of folds. Historic drilling, shown in blue, tested these axioplanar quartz veins, and you can see the results were quite good, including up to 3 meters at 11.7 grams gold. This was in keeping with thinking at the time, which postulated that gold in iron formation was dominantly contained in the axial zones of folds in these quartz veins. What wasn't recognized at the time but was later at the Lupin mine and also at the Back River project is that there's significant tonnages of gold ore adjacent to these central quartz veins, and that these constitute targets in their own right. We thought that might be the case here, and we did some sampling, which returned up to 26 grams per ton gold. You can see some beautiful scorodite in here. And this occurs in sulfidized iron formation on the limbs of the central fold here. So this is well away from the central quartz veins that were tested in the historic drilling. We would like to go back in here and drill off the metasediments themselves. In other words, run a fan of holes through these folds because we think there might be significant tonnages of gold-bearing sulfide iron formation in this area. So we're looking for a partner to do that. In June, the Kitikmeot Inuit Association and the government of Nunavut signed a memorandum of understanding to look into the construction of an all-weather road between Grace Bay on the Arctic coast and the Lupin mine. When we heard this, we were cheered and thought this might change the economics of gold exploration and mining in the area, and decided to have a closer look. We decided to look at projects that were within about 60 kilometers of the road right away, and we selected two, Happy Thought and Grumpy. Happy Thought sits astride a regional iron formation, shown here in green, and there are a number of iron formation hosted gold occurrences along the length of that. In addition, however, to the east, there's a package of felsic tuffs that are also mineralized. Historic sampling in this area has returned grades up to 13 grams per ton gold. We did a little bit of sampling when we restaked it this summer, and we returned material up to 3.1 grams. But you can see here, it's nicely mineralized iron formation, and there's lots of it out there. So we look forward to putting a prospecting crew out there next summer, seeing if there's much more and if it hopefully has higher grade. Grumpy lies right on top of the proposed road, 23 kilometers south of Grays Bay, and covers two showings. Both are quartz carbonate veins. These are Archean low gold style laminated quartz veins. The Grumpy showing is a 100 meter by meter and a half wide vein that extends down dip in an exposed cliff face for perhaps 40 meters. Historic sampling there has returned values up to 2.5 meters at 8 grams. A giant geologist who worked on the project over a bottle of scotch postulated there might be 40,000 tons at a quarter ounce there, but that's not the sort of estimate I'd ever repeat in public. Signet, off to the southwest, is similar. A bunch of veins, about 25 meters long, on echelon and maybe a foot wide. Historic sampling has returned grabs to 32 grams per ton and about 16 grams over a foot. Another major area of interest for us is the Ennadai Rankin Greenstone Belt in southern Nunavut. The Ennadai Rankin Greenstone Belt, shown here in green, is relatively unexplored, but has tremendous gold endowment, shown here with the Newman gold occurrences in red. And also here is the Agnico Eagle's Melodyne mine just north of Rankin, which is slated to become Nunavut's next gold producer. We were quite interested in looking at this belt, and we picked up two targets along it. These are the hard cache and Nigel in the southwest, and Quartzite up near Kaminak Lake. At Quartzite, we were drawn to a number of high-grade gold occurrences that occur near the contract between a gabbro and metavolcanic rocks. It was suggested to us that there might be a rheology contrast at work here. We had a look at it, and we went in and we staked 3 claims. The Joan Lake zone to the northeast contains quartz carbonate altered metavolcanics and some pyrite quartz veins, obviously with some chalcopyrite from the look of the samples, and has returned material up to 17.8 grams per ton. Eva Lake contains material in a large boulder train and rubble crop, but there's been no bedrock source found yet. It contains chalcopyrite pyrite-bearing quartz, and historic grabs have run to 132 grams. The west zone contains similar material to Eva and Joan Lake, with historic sampling reported to 17 grams, and our check sampling returned up to 27 grams. And you can see the style of mineralization is found there, nice extensional quartz veins, and the material is similar to that at Eva and Joan Lake. Hard cache and Nigel occur at the other end of the Ennadai Rankin Greenstone Belt near the border with the NWT. Both showings are hosted by mafic volcanics with subordinate felsic volcanics, and they're overlain by turbidites. The style of gold occurrences in this area consists of both mesothermal Archean lode gold style and iron formation hosted gold. Hard cache covers 5 Newman showings, 2 iron formation hosted gold showings in the west, and 3 Archean lode gold style showings in the east. Here's a plot of our sampling conducted in August 2016. Most of this work was focused on the eastern portion of the property following out the swamp showing. Hard cache has an interesting exploration history. It was discovered by the Don Cameron Exploration Company. Don Cameron was a pioneer in northern aviation, and he put a crew of 2 guys out on Ennadai Lake in 1946. They paddled around the lake and they till sampled, basically panned the tills, and they discovered gold at the north end of what became the swamp showing. Between 1946 and 52, Don Cameron drilled and trenched the area. Unfortunately, all records of this work were lost. There were rumors, however, of gold coming out of there up to 8 ounces a ton. This led Giant in there in 1981. They found nothing. Taiga, Homestake, and Phelps Dodge. None of them were able to relocate any high-grade mineralization in the area. In 2012, Panarch Resources went in there and they were able to relocate the high-grade mineralization. Silver Range acquired the property in May and conducted exploration here in August. The swamp showing is the center of attention. This is an approximately 100-meter wide classic Archean shear zone. There's at least 3 phases of deformation recorded in foliation here. Embedded within it are a series of laminated quartz veins. These are late stage. They carry pyrite, chalcopyrite, galena, in quartz, and anchorite. They're on echelon, typically 10 to 50 centimeters wide and perhaps 25 meters long. They're very high grade. We've retrieved material in place up to 35 grams and float adjacent to the veins up to 178 grams per ton gold and almost 1,200 grams silver. Here's what this thing looks like. Here's the center of the shear zone, and you can see here anchorite, sericite altered, polydeformed sericite schist in the center. This extends for over 100 meters. Embedded within this shear zone are these recessive zones which contain the laminated quartz veins. This is what the material looks like. All sorts of sulfides up to 15%, and this stuff runs. In 2016, our prospectors extended the area of the swamp showing from about 200 meters here to over 1,400 meters, collecting material grading up to 116 grams per ton gold at the southwest end. In addition, they discovered a new zone of mineralization offset from the main trend to the southeast, and finally discovered a new bedrock showing the pond showing, with mineralization in place up to almost 12 grams per ton. The style of mineralization at the pond showing is virtually identical to that found at the swamp showing, and suggests that what we're looking at here is a trend of gold mineralization that may extend for at least 3 kilometers. The next step for this project is airborne and ground geophysics, followed by drilling. Nigel is about 10 miles west of hard cache and hosts mineralization similar in style to that at the swamp showing, namely quartz carbonate veins with some pyrite and galena. The Nigel showing in the western part of the block, quartz carbonate veins have returned material grading up to 465 grams per ton historically, and recent sampling returned up to 398 grams per ton. You can see what the material looks like here. The Bob showing in the eastern portion of the block has returned grades up to 45 grams per ton, but our sampling hasn't replicated that yet. In closing, a few quick words on Nevada. This summer we ran an extensive target generation exercise, and we identified 31 prospects we wanted to look at in the state. Crews were mobilized at the end of August and they worked till early November. First assays are starting to come in. Some claims are being recorded. To date, we've announced 5 new projects when added to the 2 projects vended in from Panarch. This brings our total project holdings in Nevada to 7. There's lots more to come, and I look forward to putting out a presentation describing all our results from Nevada early in the new year. So that's it. I hope you like what you saw, and I hope you'll ride with us.